Hey, hey, hey. This is Dimensions of the Supernatural. I am Maureen Grudzinski, otherwise known as Lil Witchy. And this is my great co-host, Anthony Simonelli, otherwise known as...
Forget about it. How you doing? How you doing tonight?
Mr. Forget About It. So, we have a very interesting guest. She is very driven. She had her own team. She now has not one, but dos, that's two in Spanish, haunted locations.
Dos Ezequis, of course we know that.
Of course we know that. Más cervezas, por favor. So, her name is Jill Shelley. She's here to tell us all about her awesome locations, tell us stories about those places. And Todd and Carmela, we're going to hope that this does not go off the rails. Hi, Virgil. Please behave yourself tonight. You don't want me to block you. This, my good friends, is Jill Shelley.
Hey!
Hey! How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I mean, you got two locations. Of course we're going to have you. Holy cow.
So does that mean
Awesome.
cannoli and tiramisu?
No. It's only cannolis.
No, it's only tiramisu.
No.
Jill,
You seen the picture I sent you, didn't you?
Yeah, you did. I loved it.
You loved that.
Jill,
So,
cannoli or tiramisu?
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's a hard call.
So it's both.
Yeah,
it's depending.
gotta have both.
It's
Okay.
one per location.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
That's right.
We don't have to.
That's a very tough thing because it's depending what they say, who they're getting the good side of. You know? I'm the cannoli person.
I'm the
And she's
tiramisu.
the other person. You know what I'm saying?
So now that we have you here, I'm so excited to hear about these locations. I love haunted places, especially Masonic lodges are very secretive. They have little nooks and crannies. They have their own hidden things that they hide from the entire world. But that's your second location. Your first location, tell us about it and how it all happened.
So the first location is the Boyd House, and that's located in Boyd, Minnesota. So real creative with the name there.
Okay.
But actually, I didn't know the history when I purchased the house, as far as like who lived there and stuff. But I just kind of want to get up and running, so I just named it after the town, and then kind of stuck now. So it's kind of affectionately known as. But I was just like I said, I've been a paranormal investigator since 2010. So my team, St. Croix Paranormal, and I just kind of traveled throughout the country. And that's kind of where I got my idea of like, gosh, that'd be kind of cool to have my own place, be able to do research whenever I want.
That's all our dreams.
Yeah. But I will tell you, the one thing you don't realize when you own it is that you have to maintain it and clean it and all this work. So it's kind of like, I mean, you knew, obviously when you bought it, but then when you really have to live it, you're like, wow, that's a lot of work. So, I don't get to places. Yeah, I don't get to investigate as much as I am cleaning or maintaining or fixing or doing something. But usually when I'm there, I have like a voice recorder at least going, just because I do talk to them, and you just never know what you're going to get. And then hopefully, if I'm not too tired, I do get some time to investigate a little bit. But the Boyd House, it wasn't advertised as a haunted location. So in 2018. Financially, I was able to purchase something. So I just kind of hit the MLS and just kind of put in my criteria. I did go and look at a couple other places, even some churches, just all kinds of different things. But when I found the Boyd House online, I was like immediately drawn to it. Like I was like, this is the one. Like I knew this was the house for me.
Yeah.
And I went to go investigate it. My realtor knew that's what I was looking for. So I would just do like mini 2-hour investigations in the day. And so when we first got there, they were running a little bit late. So we were just sitting outside, and my teammate was with me, Donna, and I just kind of casually said, oh gosh, don't you like feel like something staring at you? Yep, right through the attic window. So we kind of had that feel, and even when we walked in the house, we had that feel that something was there, but just really standing back. The house had been vacant for about a year, so not, other than, people coming to look at it. So then I put one of our REM pods out in it's now the library, but they had it as a bedroom. And that went off in about 10, 15 minutes of us being there. And then the spirit box itself said, "Who are you?" A woman had asked us that. So that all kind of made sense. But I was like, what are you going to get in 2 hours? You can't get a whole lot of stuff. And I just reached out to a psychic medium that I really trusted, and she told me a whole bunch of stuff about the house that actually came true after I purchased it, or stories that people came forward to tell me about it. So then we reached out and asked previous owners, and they were like, "Oh god, yeah, there's stuff going on there." so we ended up purchasing it, and just been getting crazy activity ever since.
So how long you been with it on the market as a haunted location to go investigate it now? Not long. It's still new.
2018 is when I got it. And I know that the previous owners didn't investigate, but they did have experiences. They would sometimes see a man with a hat. They heard old time music playing, footsteps, people who have slept there as, the family members. And they said, things would touch me in the middle of the night, or sometimes my blanket would get tugged. So just a lot of different stuff. So, but we've had, since we've been open in 2018, it was a little slow start, but I would probably say we've had maybe 200-300 teams in since we've been open. So we've had quite a few people in with some really good results.
Okay.
And do you know, I'm sorry, Anthony, do you know what it was before? Was it just a family homestead? Was it used as a boarding house? Was it a brothel? Was it a home, but they rented out rooms for a doctor or for a person who was trying to teach piano lesson? How they use it for all different types of things. Do you know what it was before?
Well, as far as we know, it was just a house that was built in 1901. Our land goes back to 1889. So there's quite a bit of a rich history with that. The Sioux Dakota reservation line is right on the edge of town.
Okay.
The house is on the edge of town. So, there could be a lot of correlations with that kind of stuff. We on the deed, we've had families that kind of moved in and out, nothing, whatever. But the main family in 1912 was Fred and Minnie Eckhart. And they moved into town with their children, and they actually owned one of the fancier grocery stores in town. So they sold more high-end type quality merchandise, food. He was also the justice of the peace. He was on the school board, the fire department. So very, very well respected man. They built one of the churches in town as well. So very well respected. So they both passed in the home. And Minnie's funeral was actually held in the parlor for 3 days. So they had her there for 3 days. 2 of her children passed away in the home. One was an infant, and then one was about 2 years old. He choked to death. So we've had that death. And then in the 70s, we had another lady die just in probably stroke, heart attack. So nothing as far tragic other than the little boy. But for some reason, we seem to have a lot of other spirits that are there, and I don't know why. They've never really told me where they came from. Their names sometimes are consistent, but I don't find any information on them. So we're still kind of learning all that information. A lot of people say that there might be a portal that's been made at the house. I don't think it had it at the house, but I think by doing everything that we do there, I think it has created something, because I did have Fred, which we know is still at the house, kind of basically said, well, there is a portal here, but it gives me something to do. I help save them is what he's told us. So
an egregore or tulpa created because of the energy and a thought.
Yeah, I just think maybe there's just so much, kind of draws the energy in. Spirits are attracted to the energy.
Mhm.
And we just do a lot of the same thing. I mean, I've been at other locations when I'm like, well, did you live here? And they're like, no, I'm just passing by. So I kind of feel like they're kind of doing, like they're just going through the motions, and I just happen to be there at the time. We've, done other research too. They just kind of say some of them, they can come, they can go. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
I actually had one explained to us recently at a school. I'm like, why do you come here? He's like, well, we're supposed to come here. We all know to come here. He goes, it's like a train station. He's like, we get on, we get off. So that's what they told us. So it wouldn't surprise me if you're getting other spirits that that are just going through the motions, oh yeah, they're doing stuff. I'm going to just pass on, see what's going on.
It could be a ley line.
And it could be, we're also right. The railroad track runs right directly behind our property as well. And that had a big tie with the town, because back in the day, they had the railroads. That's what their survival was. They actually was a really big town of like 500 people back in the day. They had, like a brewery, or not a brewery, a creamery. They had grain elevators. They had grocery stores, billiards, bars, hotel. Like they were a big, huge, booming town. Like I got pictures of them, the whole Wild West with the covered wagons and the horses sitting outside. And now it's like a dead town. There's like one or two businesses in town, which of course is one would be the bar and the cafe. And then that's pretty much it, and they're down to about 175 people in that town. So it's small. Like you drive through a bunch of cornfields and then there you are, and that's town. It's like, and then you can just keep on going. So
And that must be a great investigation to go there. I would love to do that, something like that.
That sounds
like, yeah. And I mean, you had, like you said, about 300 investigators, teams and stuff, but still not beat to death on investigations. Like a lot of the places that you go to now, it's like every single day, weekend, everybody's there. So it's not over investigated. So that's just sometimes the spirits still they still will communicate with you to a point. Like if the place beat to death, they'll sometimes they just say, okay, we had enough, and they won't come out or whatever. So the location is pretty cool. Also, you're right by the ley line for the Indian tribe that was there. The reservations. So you don't know what energy that comes from that too.
Right.
And
there
could be
could have been a huge massacre there.
Yeah, your property could have been some kind of battle between the certain tribes, and I think it could have been. I don't know how far back the history of the land goes, but you don't know what happened there to actually cause, maybe you just reopened the portal. Plus, how many families lived there through the years? You know what they did, religions, or they dabbled into certain things that would open up the portal. So,
Right.
sounds like a great location. Really does.
Yeah, just a lot of really good, rich history, and we get quite a bit of paranormal activity that happens at the house. So it's you just never know what you're going to get. Some days it's quiet and nothing happens either. So just depends.
And I'm sorry, you said it was the Sioux and
the Sioux Dakota reservation line.
Sioux Dakota?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said Lakota. That would make a big difference because they were actually warriors. Like they were always looking for a fight, and that would be very different. Because remember when we had Doug? He was on our show, and he was talking about how it was always a fight.
Oh, yes.
He was talking about how they're warriors and they're known to fight. They're born to fight. That would have been like a big energy thing.
Yeah. Well, plus the railroad. What year was the railroad put down?
Well, I know the deed's 1889, so I'm not sure. I think it came around in the 1800s, though, because that was the Minneapolis-St. Louis Railroad that came through there.
Because railroads had a lot of incidents with with Indians back then too. So you don't know. They might have went through their land and they're taking their land, and so it could have been almost anything happen on your property.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that probably happened just based on how close the reservation line is to where the town is. I'm literally, it's like a stone's throw, honestly.
Yeah,
Lots of derailments as well, or like they would bust right through if a man was crossing with a horse and carriage or horse and buggy. They would just bust it into like splinters.
Yeah, and I do know, I read, which is weird, I don't know why they did it, but the town didn't allow any slaughtering of animals in town. So I heard that they would take them out to the railroad tracks and do the slaughtering out on the railroad tracks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they did have one guy too in the 1900s, never proven. They thought suicide, but they never ruled out murder either. That one guy jumped in front of the train in the middle of the night. So, so yeah, so there's a little bit of energy going on, as well.
And the building of the railroads, the condition those men had to go through was the Chinese and the Irish and blacks, and the conditions they wouldn't feed them. Some of them just died from whatever dysentery, whatever they died of. So, I mean, it could be any kind of condition. And the town, was it a lawless town at one time or just?
Well,
building up.
Yeah, I would kind of assume so. I mean, we had the cowboy look to it back in the day. And I do know Fred was Justice of the Peace. And like even he was around during Prohibition too, because I found some old newspaper articles where they arrested somebody for alcohol, that kind of stuff too. So
he was how long did it have the house?
They had it from 1912 to 1968.
Wow, they had the house a long time.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I heard they had people living in and out of it, and I did have, I don't take everything for worth what psychics say, but just interesting that she mentioned, which, I'm sure it happened back in the day. She said, oh, more people died in that house, but you're not going to find any history on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so a lot of times they had houses bigger than what they needed for themselves, so they would rent out rooms. Wouldn't necessarily boarding house, but they would have people board with them. And you can't trust everybody, so there might have been someone who was dangerous, or they might have been a little crazy.
Right. Yeah. There's just so much stuff we'll never really know. But yeah, it's just fascinating, just even, it gets a new spirit, but we also have brought the house back to the 1900s. So we kind of restored it that way. We put up the old Victorian wallpaper, just all the antique furniture that we bought. And so there could be maybe some attachments to that. You don't know. And then of course, I had to fill it up and put, creepy haunted dolls in it. So
you got to creep it up.
Yeah, you do. So.
Yeah, but the house sounds so interesting. I seen pictures of it on online, and that house looks to me. I would like that's a house of my dreams. I would love to have a house like that.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, it's got still a lot of the natural woodwork there, and so we just kind of left things as it was. So and then. Sprucing it up to the 1800s, that kind of helps, putting all that Victorian carpet, we put that down, the wallpaper and stuff. Because I tell you, my favorite room is the master bedroom, just because I knew what the house looked like when I bought it. Like that bedroom was purple. And it's
purple.
I was like, ugh, I just can't do this. So I put up a black and gold Victorian wallpaper, and it looks really nice in there now. And really dark when the lights go off because I used the black wallpaper. But you literally in that room, if you have the door shut, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark in there now.
Not much spookier.
Oh yeah. I usually don't have much problem when I sleep there, but I did have someone tell me that Minnie enjoys the fact and likes the fact that I clean the house. And so she doesn't let the spirits bother me because she wants me to get my rest. So I am so happy for that, because my fear, honestly, and I don't want to open my eyes in bed and see something like that is like my biggest fear. Like, it's okay if I was laying there and I was already awake, but not to wake up and see that would just freak me out way too much.
Or wake up 2 feet off your bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
And like
Floating in the air.
it is
Oh,
it
man.
is a little scary when you're you're trying to get some rest and you wake up and there's something hovering over your face, or standing there very sternly, like tapping their foot, like, let's get to work here. It's something you don't want to wake up to, for sure, even though you're kind of used to investigating. That's not when you want to be messed with. But I love that you're exploring that.
Yeah, it did happen to my husband in the bedroom, because with the older beds, it's a full size bed, so I just bring an air mattress because I'm more comfortable over there. So he told me he woke up in the middle of the night because he thought he heard me yelling his name. And then he opened his eyes and he's like, I saw like a figure standing at the end of the bed just looking at me. And then I like looked over to where you were sleeping, and I could tell you were sleeping. You were there. You were fine. And then he looked, and then nothing there. But he's like, it was really a dark figure, but it's so dark in that room.
Oh my God.
So he had that. And he also, so here I am, an investigator since 2018. I've seen one shadow figure my entire career. I have never seen a full-blown apparition. Like, that is,
Holy grail.
Yes, I just want to see it. And yeah, so it was maybe the third time we'd been to the house, and he was coming through, and it was daytime. He came through the front door. He was carrying some stuff. He looked up at the stairs, and he saw a woman with long brown hair wearing white. And then he thought it was me for a second. Then he looked away back, and she was gone. I'm like, are you serious? Why? He's not even a ghost guy. He's just there to support me. He doesn't like investigating. He likes to hear about what I do, but that's about it. So for him to see, I'm like, really?
We're talking about the house. How did you start? I mean, you investigated before you did all this. So how did you start, and how did you get it? Why did you get into it? Investigating.
I think the typical thing, you had that first experience, which kind of launches you in. Mine was at my grandma's house, and I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm psychic, but I get the feels, like I know when something's around, like I just know it. Yeah. And so up in the one room, I always felt like there was something, and I felt like it was always a man, but just like, get out of here. Like, they never wanted you in the room. It was always cold, very uninvited, hated being in it. So I very rarely went in that room. And one particular night I was sleeping there, and my parents were in the other room snoring away, so I knew it wasn't them. My grandma sleeps downstairs. And I just woke up in the middle of the night, just randomly woke up. And then all of a sudden I heard footsteps coming out of that room, coming towards my door. And I'm a kid. I'm probably like 8, 9, whatever. I'm freaking out. My back towards the door. And it stops in front of my door. And you kind of feel it like almost if you were like in a sci-fi movie, how like laser beams come out of the eyes, That's the feeling I got. Like, it was looking through me almost. And it was so intense. And I was just like, and then it just kind of turned around and walked away. And so I like freaked out, threw the blankets over my head, and just waited till morning. I mentioned it to my grandma, who just kind of real nonchalantly was like, oh my gosh, honey, that was just a ghost. He's not going to hurt you. And I was like, wait, what? Grandma don't care? Like, it's just like, what? This is kind of fascinating. But I did always like the weird and the macabre anyway. When I was younger, we loved the ghost stories, the scary movies, and so then I just kind of researched spirits a little bit more, ghosts, back, I'm kind of the old school when we had libraries. So, that's the information I was able to get, and anything I would find on TV, documentaries, but then with the advent of the TV shows, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. You can do this for real. So I just started meeting people, just nonchalantly talk. And then one guy's like, oh yeah, I already kind of do that. And then, then we formed our team, and next thing you know, we had like 4 or 5 people, and that's pretty much we've had people come and go, but it's pretty much a core 4 of us that have stayed together since like 2010, pretty much.
It's the way teams are; they come and go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and now we're not so much focused on the team. It's pretty much we still investigate a little bit. We did 2 this year. Probably do maybe 2 or 3 next year. Everybody's kind of took a different path as we all been growing up. Gosh, we were in like our late 20s, early 30s when we started. So, now we're all kind of taking a little bit different things in life right now. But yeah, we'll still do it, but it's more for a fun, which I mean, it always was for fun. And I still like making our little videos that we do. It's just kind of something that reminds us of the trip. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. And then, what do? You buy a place. You buy a haunted location, just for fun. People collect haunted items. No, you collect haunted locations.
Yes, I know, and
I'm expensive hobby though.
I'm joking, like I want a third one. My husband's like, "Are you serious? You keep wanting to retire. You're never going to retire if you keep doing that."
Listen, don't look this way because I am very bad. Like, I'm not a good one to have in your corner because I'll be like, "Do it, Jill. Do it. Do it. Do it." And I'll have horns on the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, I'll totally do it. That's for sure. I gotta get the lodge a little bit more back together, restored a little bit more. And then once I do that, because we did that with the Boyd house, we had to put a new roof on it. We still need to replace some windows yet. Just doing all the painting and the wallpaper and all that. And then regular maintenance and upkeep, because we've had things break down, we've had to replace pipes and all kinds of stuff. It's always a never ending battle when you
just a regular house. It's there, and these old locations like you have, to keep it to that era, you have to use different materials, or it has special things made to keep it, like, because I know to keep the historical part of the location, you can't put anything modern stuff in it. It's like you have to keep it to the original as much as possible. With the locations.
Right. Yeah, we try to do that as much as we can. That's why we never really gone on the historical registry, because then they're really strict on what you can do. The one thing with the Boyd house, I left the kitchen as is because it would be so much to restore it. So that's got kind of a 1950s feel to it. So we just decorated that such, but then as you meander through the rest of the house, it just brings you back in time with, because we got those old Victorian sofas with the Victrola and just,
I love it.
Yeah, just little antique and knickknacks and things. And I feel like I'm the only person who shops for dead people, because I'll be at an antique store going, "Oh my God, Minnie would just love this," and so I bring it to her, and then I usually put a REM pod and go, "Hey, if you really like this, just hit the REM pod." She usually does.
That's so fun. You're like a personal shopper for the dead.
Oh, I know. It's just crazy. I think
I love it.
I just wait for the time when somebody says something. Oh, which was funny because we did get a tricycle once for the kids, and a friend of mine was getting it online. And they just said, "Well, I hope the next little boy is gonna really enjoy it." She's like, "Oh yeah, he's real special." It's like
very special.
So we didn't want to tell him it was, for a dead kid, but
Yes.
So special, he doesn't even have a heartbeat.
That's right.
Or a meat suit.
Let's see. The biggest challenge in running a location is probably, a lot of the maintenance and the upkeep. But I think a lot of times you just sometimes dealing with things that people do at the house that they shouldn't be, vandalism, stealing, things like that. That's a real big challenge. So, you would think people wouldn't do that. We used to, I don't like when I go to places when they have security cameras, you just deal with it, though. I'm used to just pretending they're not even there. And I didn't want to have to do that to the Boyd house, but we did have some problems. So since the cameras have been installed, we haven't had any issues.
that really stinks. I mean, I could see if
Yeah.
it was still kind of run down and they weren't sure that it was open. Those, kids could be kids, but it's open, it's fixed up, you put work into it. That's a totally different story. And now it's owned, there's no for sale sign or, pending or whatever. That's just, it's wrong. It's so wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've played with them. I just, in my personal opinion, I feel like even just nobody can really hold still. You say you can hold still, but you really physically, you can't do it. So I kind of feel, even though you don't feel like you're moving, I think sometimes you're making subconscious movements and vibrations and stuff. And I'm not knocking anybody who thinks that, that uses it and that it works for them. For me, that's my personal experience and take on it. So, but we have played with them because I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah, sometimes I think that is cool. I like them once in a while. Yeah. Yeah, Maureen.
I think everybody has their own opinion. I don't think that anybody's going to be, terminated for it. You're here to speak your piece. We've had other guests that have gone way overboard with what their opinion is. So whatever you think, you can voice here. So do you want to move on to the next one, Anthony? Do you want to move on to the next place?
Well, yeah, sure.
Get the dead ball. So tell us about the other location, your Masonic I don't know, do they call it a Masonic temple or lodge?
I think it's either way, because I have had the spirits refer to as temple. I tried to say lodge, and then my husband always says temple, and I finally got myself to say lodge, so that's what I'm sticking with.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, so you get to the Boyd House, you get everything like up and running the way you want it. So like, what the heck? Let's try something else. So I did always want to try a bigger location, and then so I was financially able to do that as well in 2023. So I just bought it in September of 23. So just haven't really had a lot of experiences there. I mean, we've had experiences there, but I haven't been able to do it as much as I wanted to. So I just kind of started, back on the old MLS, and this one popped up, and I just saw it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to have this building." So that one's in Illinois, a little bit farther. Was not in my plan, but again, I just really felt a draw to this building, and I knew I just had to have it. So we made the 6-hour trek in one day to check it out, and we had. Again, just 2 hours during the day. None of the equipment went off. I couldn't really hear much on the spirit box. They seemed a little bit more talky when my husband came in with the spirit box because he's a man. And
is he a Mason?
No, he's not. I think they just prefer the man figure there. And yeah, I got home and I actually had like 3 or 4 EVPs. Which strangely one was a child. And I was like, that's weird. Why is there kids at a lodge? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I have no, now I got to research the land. So we did come to find out now that it actually was a hotel from the 1800s to the 1900s. So it was I believe it's not the Anderson. It'll come back to me. The Arlington Hotel. From then, and then in like 1901 is when the Masons bought it, and then that was run as a lodge since like 2015. And then they sold it to a guy who was going to make an event center out. It didn't do anything, then I got it. But yeah, so it's had that long history of Masons. We actually learned that they shared it with the females, the Eastern Stars. So they kind of did all the cooking and that kind of stuff and the cleaning. And then they would have different meeting nights, but they all shared the meeting room, not at the same time, for meetings. They would hold their different rituals in there. So yeah, just a lot of history with that too. And we're still trying to find, information on the hotel. But interesting, I've had people come forward who were Masons back in the day. One gentleman stopped by. He said he was the master Mason for about 70 years.
Wow.
After we did our hellos, I'm Jill and you're, he says, have you seen her? And I go, who? He goes, the woman upstairs. And I says, no, what does she look like? She's got a white dress and she roams the halls. I've seen her several times. So that was not the first person to tell me about this woman who's been seen in this lodge. So we've had so many people come forward, whether they've been in the building doing something, whether they're Mason or Eastern Star, even, different workers, people in town. I mean, they're all coming forward with stories of ghosts to this building, and the whole town knows it's haunted. So it's like, so yeah, I got really lucky on this building, but yeah, so it's just been crazy. Still learning a lot of the history yet, and I think the first time our whole team actually went to stay at the lodge, it was just a crazy night. We were Teresa was in the kitchen making a sandwich, and the other team was just in the other room. I was actually on the phone. Those two were over talking, and all of a sudden I just heard this loud bam. And I was like, should she just drop the cooler on the floor? Like, that was my thought. Like, the cooler hit the floor. It was that loud of a smack. She comes busting through the door. She's like, oh my God, something just slammed something behind me. So we kind of went in and tried to check it out. The only thing that made the exact sound was a cupboard door in the kitchen if you opened it and slammed it shut. And, we'd even go in the other room and recreate that. And I'm like, yep, that was the exact sound. So they had to actually open up one of the cupboards and then slam it shut. Then we also heard like the doorknobs just kind of open, like somebody's trying to open them, the rattle, 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 shake. And then we even thought at first somebody was trying to get in downstairs. And so, of course, I run to the window. There's absolutely nobody down there. Nobody's outside. It's a very small town as well, not as small as Boyd. It's 600. It's kind of busy in the summer because they're kind of a river campground type city. So in the fall, it's pretty quiet at night. Not a whole lot going on. So there was not a soul outside. So yeah, we did audible voices, people being the audible voices. They've been seeing figures, shadows. We have no power at the building, and we'll get a lot of EMF equipments going off. Like the weirdest one for me is I was the only one in the building because they went to go get coffee next door, and I don't drink coffee. So I was just, I'll just hang out. I'd read a prayer from one of the Masonic books that I got. And I had like the tripwire, the EMF tripwire, and it was like running directly at me. And I just started talking, well, hey, did you like that prayer? Was that a good one for you? And all of a sudden you see each of the lights one by one come towards me. But I could also feel this energy coming through the floor to that when it got to my foot, it was like an electric shock or a volt hit my foot where I pulled it up off the floor. And of course,
that was so weird because I was going to ask you, did it feel like almost like lightning coming at you?
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah, just like this energy. It went so fast, but you could just feel this rush of energy and just this shock on your foot to where it pulled on the floor. And then I think later, a couple of weeks later when I was there, I was the only one upstairs again because Donna was taking a nap. So I was like, I'm bored. I'm going to go just goof off upstairs. The REM pods were acting weird with the temperature. Like it kept fluctuating, but both at the same time. And then I could just feel this energy around me, just like the intense goosebumps, just electric all the way around you, pressure in my head. And then I just said, are you guys doing this? And then all of a sudden, all 3 REM pods, 2 in one room, 1 in the other room, hit. Like all the lights went on and like they just went off like crazy. And then I was like, okay, I guess that is you, and that was just, I've never felt that amount of, it almost was like electricity. I have never felt that amount of energy in one spot.
Wow.
Oh my God, I'm up for a road trip already.
Yeah, I know. That sounds cool.
Comment section, road trip.
Did you, when you first got it, did you get, did it come with with their altar and their seats and their all their equipment, their rooms and everything like that? So I know they have it in their room. They got an altar, with seats, and they have different locations: north, south, east, west. We just did a Masonic Lodge. The only reason I know that.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, since that other guy before me, pretty much everything was cleared out. I found some glasses, some cups and things. I don't know if I kept them because I don't know if they were from the lodge or from this guy trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
I did find like 2 tickets to a play that was put on by the Eastern Star. So I framed that. There was a couple signs that were hung in the kitchen from the Mason Lodge, just you can't remove anything. You have to check with Mary from the Eastern Star, so and there was like her bucket was there, like it's just a plastic or the styrofoam cooler, but it says property of Mary Burns, Eastern Star, do not remove. So of course I got that in the kitchen high up. And I think there was just like a pamphlet from like a program that they did because they had like a bunch of patriotic songs and songs that they sang. So I framed that. And then all the skeleton keys for the doors, I found those hidden behind another section. Like I was cleaning and I had my hand up and I heard this ting. I was like, oh, what's that? And it was just all like, I got like 10 or 15 different skeleton keys.
That's awesome right there.
Yeah. So that's about it. Like, I suppose probably have to like tear the walls out or something to find any of the good stuff or any of the hidden stuff. So, maybe in time, you never know.
There might be a safe in the wall somewhere,
Right. I do ask them. I'm like, you got any secret stuff here? Like, tell me where it is. It'll fix the building. I tell them it's a donation. So
yeah. I mean, the Eastern Stars, we respond to you faster than one of the Masons.
Yeah, that's true. I keep asking the lottery numbers too. I'm not getting that either.
Yeah, I think we all try to do that. Anything we do is like, what's the lottery numbers? And I just see all of us are still, paying for our investigations.
Yep.
None of us are rich.
No.
Yeah.
So what was the little boy's EVP? Do you remember what came up or?
Well, the one it wasn't when I did the walkthrough, it just said my body, and that's all I got, but it was a little kid. I'm not sure if it was a boy or girl. But we have one too of when I brought after I bought it and I came back and I investigated, I brought dolls. And I got an EVP of a child, and I'm not sure again, male or female, that said, you got dolls. So they were pretty excited about that. And there's a couple other kid EVPs I got off the top of my head. Can't remember what they were, but we had a really, really good Estes session. Teresa is so good at that. We've had many psychics just randomly walk up to her when we're at conventions and go, oh my God, the aura you have, girl, is insane. The amount of energy you attract is crazy. And that's true. When we do investigate too, she's the one who gets a lot of the action. We used to call her the paranormal punching bag because she was the one who always got scratched and pushed. She got to be that lucky person. But she's recently developed, she's been spending a lot of time doing some meditation exercises and things to try to communicate a little bit better. She has been hands down the best Estes person I have ever seen. She literally will have sometimes we've had an hour and a half conversation as I'm talking to you. It's not just one words here or there. We are like completely conversing with another entity. And, she's even has gone as far as like, we just recently did one. And, of course she's blindfolded, got her headphones on. My camera battery died and the owner was with us. Because he just wanted to spend a little time with us. I said, I whispered too. I said, I gotta go get a new battery. As I get up and leave the room, Teresa says, where are you going? And I said, I got to go get something. I'll be right back. And then when I come back, she's like, I saw you walking, lady. So so she knows nothing of what goes on, but what she says is just incredible. Like she'll just call us out and say, I yawned once. And she's like, no yawning. It's too early. Just like how you even know that. So we did a really good
everything.
Right. Yeah. It's just insane. But we did get a little boy come through. His name was Cody, with 2 E's. He spelled it for us. Very specific about it. But he is 6 years old, and then his friend died there as well. But he didn't say necessarily how it, we would perceive as a fever. We said, he goes, he's hot. He's really hot, like fire. And he has sores. That's why he died. So that's how, of course, a 6-year-old would explain, sores and hot like fire. So those guys tend to hang out. And then on another session at a different couple weeks later, we were having a good Estes session, and I said, "Hey, do you know Cody?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's a sporty little short fellow." He goes, "He's here, but not right now." So it was just kind of interesting that they would, they knew, and they said some stuff about it. So we've talked to this was a creepy one, because usually when we're doing the Estes, I'm just there, and it's dark, and it's just me. I feel like I'm alone. And the little girl come through, she was like telling she wanted a Barbie and a soft teddy bear. And I was like, "Okay, well, what's your name?" And she goes, "Annabelle." And I'm like, "Oh, why of all names does it have to be Annabelle?" But yeah, we did bring her a doll and a bear. So hopefully we didn't get any interaction with that, but hopefully she enjoyed that. So
what's your response to people who say that once a spirit either crosses over, jumps to a different dimension, whatever the dying process is, that they don't have emotions, they don't have a personality, whatever the case may be? What is your answer to that?
Oh, no. I totally, well, and from my research too, because I asked them, like, do you feel pain? No. Do you feel happy, sad? Yes. They can see you, they can see colors. So they're no different than you and I. They're just in a different form. So, they're still going to get mad. That's where I think a lot of the scratches come in. It's not evil demons, I mean, sure, they're out there, but that's really rare. Usually that's like, maybe you pissed off the guy, like you were just yelling at the guy. So now he's just like, get out of here, and that's what you get. So, you can irritate them. You can make them mad. You can make them sad. I mean, I feel like, I bring presents for ghosts and they like that. You yell at them, they're not really happy about it. So, I think, yeah, for sure. I know that they feel and they can see. I've asked even if they could feel hot and cold, and they're like, yeah, I can. And I've even had one say, I'm cold. So just different feels and stuff. So yeah, they can feel love. I've asked that. They're like, yes, I can feel love. So they meet other people too, because I remember one time on a spirit box, like I heard them conversing, like two conversing with each other. And I'm like, because one said, she said, my name is, I can't remember now, but she's like, Brandy. And he's like, oh, pleased to meet you. So I was like, wait a minute. Do they like just meet here? So I started asking that question. A lot of them are like, yeah, you do meet new people. So it was like, that was just kind of a weird coincident finding that you learn, whether it's true or not. I think all of everything we do is just kind of speculation, trial, error, guesses. But I feel like definitely that there is, spirits, there is ghosts. I don't think we have a rhyme or reason of what they do, why they're here, why they're not, why they come, why they go. I think we can speculate all we want. I don't think we're going to know until we're in that situation. But until then, I'm going to enjoy my communication with them, and just kind of learning more about them. I tend to focus more on the spirit's life than in death, because nobody want to talk about how you died or what happened. So I spent a lot of my time focusing on, like, what was your favorite thing to do? What was your favorite meal? What was your favorite memory?
Yeah.
These are the questions that I ask. And then it's like, what can I do for you? Like, can I bring you something? What would make you happy? And so then that's how they end up with all these gifts. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, when you go to locations and stuff, when people feel that they don't have feelings or whatever, to me, it's, you come with a trigger object. They're happy. The trigger objects. Like you said, if you go to a location, they don't want you there no more. Goodbye. They might knock something over. So yeah, I have a feel. They do have some sort of feelings. still, remember, they were human also. You know? And
Right.
if you're nasty in life, you're going to be nasty as a ghost.
Right.
Yeah. Or maybe you're stuck here on Earth, like earthbound, you didn't cross or whatever. I don't know. You're ornery because you've been stuck here with the same people, and people are,
Annoying.
I'm just going to say, assholes. They're assholes. They're stuck here with the assholes on the planet, and they just don't want to be here anymore. They want to be with their families or whomever, or however, I don't know, wherever they're supposed to be.
Right.
Well, with the lodges, that it's in a town, or is it's on the outskirts again?
No, it's in a real small town of like 600. So it's right off the river. There's not a lot of businesses going on in town as well. I think there's like 2 bars, there's a gas station, and just like if you like a laundromat, just very basic things. I would like to get the growth a little bit better. They used to have a lot more, but unfortunately the town was destroyed twice by floods. And I think that's kind of a lot of people lost a business. A lot of businesses got lost that way as well. So,
what's the history of the town? Was the town built up from stagecoach era, or was it later on?
Well, it was more river, because they're literally, the Mississippi River is 2 blocks from the lodge.
Wow. Okay.
So it was. It was, I believe it was the Veneta brothers in the 1800s. They used to like sell, kind of harvest the wood and then sell it to the steamboats that were coming by. And then they kind of created a little bit of a town. And then Robert Keseberg came in the 1800 or 1900s, I think. If anyone's listening from Keseberg, I don't know all the history. But anyway, Robert Keseberg came. He bought the town from the Veneta brothers, and he started the town of Keseberg. So he made it to what it was. They put like a little mini power plant down there. They had a telephone company. So they slowly got built up to a bigger and bigger town. And I do know the Masons had a big, huge picnic, like 1912, I believe it was, where they brought in like 1,000 people. And they came in by train for this big, giant picnic that the Masons put on. It was the biggest picnic ever.
Wow.
So yeah. Got a lot of that history too. So,
and this is Keseberg, Illinois.
Yeah, Keseberg, Illinois.
So it's Keesburg.
No, like Keith, Keith.
Keith.
Yes, probably my Minnesota accent that prevents me from saying it properly.
I think it's the way it's coming through with the speakers or something. But I mean, it sounds so similar. It's so. That's so weird. I think it's that they're pissed because there's only 2 bars.
All these small towns, all they got is bars. It's like there's nobody. Everybody's leaving, but the bar stays.
That's right.
Well, there's the polka song, "In Heaven There Is No Beer."
Right.
Yes. And we got to drink it here.
Right.
But
and there's always a bar still in hell,
But it's just like you're near the Mississippi River. That's going to bring energy there. Just the river itself, from the flowing of the water, and everything else that happened there, and building of the town. That sounds another place. You're going to have to make me come from New York all the way over there, huh?
Listen, the 2 accents cancel each other out.
What accents? We don't got accents. You got the accent.
I don't have an accent at all.
I'm from New York. We don't got accents. Everybody else does.
You could tell yourselves that all you want. So,
that's so cool.
Has anyone ever said that they feel that they've taken something with them, brought something with them, left something there?
Any attachments?
I think there's one group that said that they feel like a bunch of stuff from, I believe they said the Sally house, because they were there. They got some of the same responses from the Sally house as they did to the Boyd house, that they felt that there was some sort of connection. And I don't know. I don't think it necessarily would be the Boyd to the Sally house. I think it's a connection with them because they were at both locations.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that might be the case on that, not necessarily because the Sally house is one house I won't ever investigate. So
That's top of my bucket list.
I'm just too chicken.
That's the very top.
I mean, I love the paranormal, but I don't like demonic stuff. I've heard too much, and like I said, I would normally just be like, that's what people are saying because that's, demons sell, I guess. I got,
That's why I started my team, because of the Sally house.
Yeah. And I just had one girl tell me that one time she had really, really bad nightmares before she went. She continued to have them after she went. She said they were so graphic, so vivid. And then she said that they heard a really, really loud thud. And someone just said, "Oh, Jesus Christ." And then they got an EVP that says, "Jesus won't save you." And I'm like, not going anywhere in this house. No.
Oh, man.
I won't. Like, we went to Saddam's rectory. That was supposed to be demonic. We didn't get that demonic feel, although we did get a really creepy EVP that said, "I want your skin." But, so that was kind of.
Really?
That was Buffalo Bill.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we tried
to. Put the skin on the lotion.
No. Yeah, we don't, we love the spirits and the paranormal, but when we started talking demonic stuff, I just do not want to do it. I don't want to risk anything. I wouldn't say a possession, but I don't want an attachment. I don't want bad stuff. I don't want bad. I just, I like my life. So
I think
tamper with it.
Attachments can happen to anyone, even if you're like totally clean. You like, say your prayer or whatever you do, whatever your like thing is before you go, whatever you do when you leave, because I've like grounded myself, protected myself before I go, cleansed myself when I left, told them to stay there, whatever. And Chris Allgood was like, "Oh, honey, you got something, a little like gremlin type elemental stuck to you. No wonder why you feel sluggish and whatever." I think they could still like attach to you, but do you guys think, like, I don't think that there's necessarily anything demonic. I think that like the people here on earth are evil, twisted jerks. Do you think it's as much demonic as it is like just evil, twisted people that don't move forward?
Oh, I don't know. As far as like attachments, I wouldn't necessarily say it's, that they're all evil. It's not, because if that was the case, everybody'd be like getting scratched and pushed and thrown and all kinds of stuff. So I think sometimes it's just, maybe they can't leave on their own. Then somehow, they attach to this vessel that then can now take them somewhere else.
Right.
It's like, get me out of here. I can't stand so-and-so or something. You don't know.
Believe that there are demons, or do you just think that they're just like messed up psychos, or they're just touched, or they're just messed up?
Well, I kind of feel like that it'd be more of necessary. I wouldn't want to say like devils, demonic, but something more of a stronger nature to be able to do. Yeah, to be able to do some of the more energetic type things they do. I think they have to have a little bit more higher powers. So they might be a little bit higher up versus your regular old spirit that can do whatever it can do. But I think, like they say, just, I wouldn't say devil itself, but just something. I think maybe like an elemental-y type, something with a little more power, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, what do you think? Are there demons, or do you think that they're just really messed up spirits that have?
What I think is, because I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, and I'm an old man. So, and I really don't believe much with the demons. What I think is a lot. There could be a negative, very bad negative energy out there that wants you to believe it's some sort of demonic, or just to scare you even more. But all the years I've been doing it, I don't think I ever came across any kind of demonic or devil or demons, doing my investigation. But I've come across a couple of negative entities that, threw things at me. And I've been scratched, punched, pushed, almost pushed downstairs a couple of times. I was at one location, almost trying to push me over a balcony. And, I really think it's some of the negativity is because they want you out of their location.
Yeah.
And they feel that by acting that way, it's going to scare you so you don't come back or just get you out of there faster. So that's why I feel with demons and stuff. I feel it's just very bad negative energy that might be
They
out
could
there.
have been like serial killers. They could have been, such horrific people in life that they just keep getting worse and worse and worse because they have so much time to build that energy. Or it could be something that someone has planted, like an egregore or a tulpa or whatever. I don't necessarily believe in demons. I think whatever is negative that you think is like you have demons in your own head, whatever you create.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's just our thoughts because everybody has their own feelings about that. I mean, if I talk to a demonologist about that, no, not gonna. He's gonna debate me all the way. But so everybody has their own feelings on that, and that's how I feel with my experiences. I've been doing this. Everybody knows in the audience. I've been doing this for 48 years, so I've been out there a long time doing this. So I never came across any kind of demon. And if it's going to pick me up by one leg and throw me across the ceiling, I think it's time to retire.
Yeah.
Because when the demons get that powerful, that's time to or the spirits get that powerful, it's time to stop. But other than that, but everybody has their own beliefs with that.
Well, and I agree with you too about that. The spirits being more of on an angry, try to get you out kind of thing. That's because I tell that when we used to do, we don't anymore, but when we did private homes, I'm like, it's not demonic. It's ticked off about for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you on that. But again, I feel like there is something that's a little higher that takes it to a whole nother level, not necessarily, I'm not thinking like devil with horns and stuff running around. I just think there's just something that's a little bit more, as you say, negative because, even when you're talking energy, if you have positive, you have to have a negative. It just doesn't exist without one of the others. So, I guess if you want to say demonic, it would be more on the negative side.
Yeah. Because demonic is more like a religious type of,
right?
Saying something that's not being understood and something that's bad. It's more like a religion type. It comes out because I'm a Roman Catholic, so I know all about that. I went to Catholic school and everything, so they made sure those nuns just smacked me in the hand with the ruler. You got to learn the Bible. So I understood a lot of the stuff, and a lot of it is got to do with the way things through religion and everything like that. So demonic, I don't know about, but So get back to the Mississippi River over there and near that. I mean,
I'm curious about this. Since go ahead.
No, I just want to, with what's going on there. I mean, that location, that town and everything's probably had a lot of energy through the years and everything, and flooding and everything. So maybe that's what happened, and that's why the energy's still at that lodge.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. Like I said, we're just basically tapping into it right now to know. We just found out the building across the way belonged to the Oddfellows, and they hated the Masons, and the Masons hated the Oddfellows so much that they wouldn't face their chairs to face the other building. It always had to be the back of the chair.
Really?
Yep, because they just didn't like each other. But I'm also, like a lot of people are telling me, like half the town is still haunted anyway. So
the whole town?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it kind of sounds.
Wow.
You could start tours there.
I know.
You should.
I mean, that might be, you get tours going on there if half the town, because once one location finds out that another location, if they're open they're going to say, hey, I had this experience. Oh, you want to check this out? You want to check this out? And it just keeps on going. We Jenny Colucci, she's in the audience right now. She
Hi,
does a
Jenny.
thing. She does a show. It's called Ghosts of Summersville, New Jersey. She started doing a location here, and now people coming to her and say, we got this. And before she knows it, it's like, well, just keep on going. Everybody wants something, and they come to her. They tell her what's going on, because people do want to tell you, even though they feel, how it is. Throughout the years, we weren't allowed to talk about all this, so a lot of people to this day keep it to themselves until they find out. Like, you do what? You look for ghosts? Oh, I got a story.
Yep.
And then they start telling you to get it off their chest. So that's how it, you may be able to make something out of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Something to check into.
Because why not? If I'm there, I'll go on one of your tours.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be good. Because, the whole town has some sort of activity. Like I said, there's been floods there. So, between, disasters, people losing businesses, there might be some lives lost there, or, people just sometimes they pass. It's not that they're haunting their location. They just don't want to leave. Like, they're there their whole life. They're not leaving. So, they're just staying there. That's all they know.
Right.
Heaven, hell, wherever they might be going, but they want to stay. So,
yeah, that's how I kind of feel like with Fred and Minnie Eckhart for the Boyd House, because like I said, they were so involved into the community, and that was just a huge part of their life. Like, I feel that's why they haven't moved on. Maybe there's another reason that they kind of stayed as well, but I just kind of feel that they seem like they're content and that they're happy with where they're at. So,
well, the Boyd House, that they were there their whole life. So yeah, they would be a big presence, I would assume, there.
Right.
You know?
For sure.
And Minnie's probably protecting you if anything else is negative there. She's probably watching over you, making sure nothing happens.
Yeah, that was told that by a psychic. We even had him. It was funny that, the reason I trusted what he had to say is he didn't know me from anything. I think I had a picture of of my house on a T-shirt. I was at a convention and I was just walking around talking to people, and I just stopped and talked to him, and I didn't even know he was a psychic because he was actually helping a friend sell artwork. And I just started stopping and talking, and then he's like, oh yeah, I like to go in and collaborate with paranormal teams because I like to go in first and then see what I get and then see what they get and see if we get the same thing. And I was like, oh really? That would be really cool. That's something I would love for you to do to my house. And then it's like he locked eyes with me and then he just, the floodgate opened. Like, he just started talking about stuff that there's no way he would even know. He doesn't know who I am or anything. But I don't make announcements like, oh hey, look at our wallpaper that we just put up. He started laughing and he goes, somebody in that house was wallpapering and didn't know what they were doing, and the spirits were laughing and they thought it was funny. Now, my husband and I have never wallpapered a day in our life. We YouTubed it. There was a lot of arguing going on and a lot of mistakes being made. So it was just interesting that the psychic brings that particular thing up when that's what happened and nobody knows about it. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When psychic brings up things, you're like, how would you know? Especially if you just met them.
Right. And he didn't know anything about the Boyd House, anything like that. So that was when we were relatively new. A lot of people now like, oh, I heard of the Boyd and things. But at that particular time, it was probably our first year out. So not a lot of people had heard about us or anything. So it's just at conventions getting our name out. So
yeah, we got it. You guys get a lot of snow out there?
In the winter we do. Not this year. We had hardly any snow. It was like a great winter for me because I hate snow. But yes, we do get a lot of snow.
Yeah. Does Ronald the ERT radio. You see, he's the guy that runs this station. But he lives out there, and he's always complaining about snow. And it's like he's like, "Oh, I got 6 feet of snow," and I'm here in Queens, like, I got none.
Yeah, he just said that he's like an hour and a half from there.
Is he?
Yeah, he said he never heard of that city or town or whatever before, but he looked it up and he said he's an hour and a half from there, so he'll have to stop there.
Yeah, Ronald, you go down there and you take some pictures. Go down there. He likes to drive and video and do a show from his car, like driving. So the location's only an hour and a half. Ronald, drive down there, hour and a half.
That's a quick drive.
Yeah.
He's driven 25 hours to get to places.
He drove there to upstate New York. And who else? And Gettysburg. It's been to Gettysburg. He drives 25 hours out. So an hour and a half for him is just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
You know?
So Ron, get there. Get his information.
Road trip, Ronald.
Yes. So Todd and Carmela would like to know, have you heard disembodied voices at either location? That was actually one of my questions.
The Boyd House I have a couple of times. One of the times I was laying in bed, I woke up. It was early morning. Was just kind of just laying in bed. We have the old fashioned grates that go through to the floors, so you can hear what's going on from all the floors. Mm-hmm. And the bedroom is right above the kitchen, which we get a lot of activity in the kitchen. Well, I heard women talking, and I couldn't make out what they were saying, but you could hear women talking. And I was like, oh, the girls are up. I guess I'll just get up. I'll go down. I go down there. They're all sound asleep. Like nobody's talking at all. So, and other people have heard children's voices. I picked up a $5 bill and was sworn at. I audibly heard that. I just said, oh, I'm taking this $5. It was like, yeah, they didn't like that. And I think one of the weird ones that we did have is we were both, Teresa was in the kitchen cleaning, and I was cleaning we have a shelf above the stairwell of gifts that we have given Minnie, and one of a fern, because we were told by her great grandsons and stuff that she loved ferns. So we bought a fake fern as an offering. And I picked it up to wipe under it, and I heard a woman say two things, but I didn't know what she had said. And it almost sounded electronic-y to me. Mm-hmm. My first thought was Teresa turned on the spirit box. She's bored in there. She turned on the spirit box. And mind you, this happens all within seconds. But I go, what did you say? And she goes, I didn't say anything. She's like, I heard a woman say, leave it. And I said, well, I just picked up the fern. So it was interesting. Wow. We both heard it. She heard what she said. I just heard the voice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was kind of a cool thing to have. So
that's awesome.
We had something like that we discussed on the show. So I went investigating at Pennhurst with my husband and my son, and we went into, have you ever been there, Jill?
No.
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So it's in Pennsylvania, and it's a kind of a far distance for us, and we had to make a long drive, and it's a big campus. We were only allowed to go into certain buildings. And there's this area called Candyland in the basement. And that was where they kind of played. But it was pitch freaking black in this area. I went in with my husband, my son, and one of my friends from one of the other teams. And we literally sat there in blackness. I mean, I couldn't see this far from my face. And all of a sudden I hear my son say, I can't do this. And he puts his light on and turns it back off. And then he goes, I can't do this. And he puts his light back on. I said, Chris, you're really going to have to kind of do what you can. And I'm sitting there, and I felt something literally run its body across the brim of my baseball hat. And then I flicked my light on and I go, I'm sorry, guys, I can't. It did it again. And I said, I'm going to have to put my light on, but put it between my knees because it's just, I felt my heart. It was pounding out of my chest. And then we started this thing where they said, if you clap your hands, you'll hear the clap back. We tried that. It didn't work. And then finally we said, all right, we give up. We're just going to walk out. I stood up and I immediately started to gag and almost vomit. And I'm like, I'm done with this room. I'm done. So my husband took these pictures and I looked at it and I said, do you not see this person in this picture? Plus there was like a beam of light that was directed right into my head. And I think that that's whatever it was that made me sick. So all of a sudden I'm like, we need to go back to look at this, whatever it is. My son stayed with this other woman, the other guy from the team and the girl from the team that was with us. We all went back to this room and we hear, and I forgot that I left my phone on recording. It's in my back pocket. My son and this woman start screaming, did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear? We didn't hear anything. We run back. They said, you need to hear this. You hear this woman screaming bloody murder. And I'm like, when did that happen? They said, as soon as you walk down the hall. So they were at the intersection. We get down the hall. As soon as we turn the corner, they said that's when it happened. We would have heard everything because it happened where we were. That's where they heard it. I get home. I play back the recording. It's on my recorder in my pocket, the same scream, but it sounded further away, but it was where we were. So we had this conversation as we had the show. Remember, Anthony, about the sound envelope?
Mm-hmm.
So what can happen is you may have heard it like a robotic noise, but your partner may have heard it as leave it. Someone else might hear leave it because it's the way they want you to hear it. Mm-hmm. It's the pocket of the noise, and someone else may not have heard it at all. We didn't hear it. My recorder heard it, and it sounded slightly different on my recording than it sounded with them. Mm-hmm. They couldn't believe we didn't hear it. So it's called a sound envelope. I had no idea what this thing was, and I had to go and research the hell out of it because I was like, yeah, I know what that is. I had no idea what it was, but that's what that is. So bringing this up again tonight, this is all starting to come together because people are starting to say this happened, that happened, this happened, and it's a real thing. So that's a really interesting story that it sounded that way, but it didn't sound that way for somebody else.
Right. And then we get that too, because a lot of times I always feel like I'm making noise or something because they're like, did you hear that? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear nothing. So it's like, but I always feel like when they do it, I feel like I've just done something, like I've moved or I was looking at something or like not. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just completely oblivious to what's going on around me. So
no, it's not you at all. We thought we were crazy or that we were like in a time warp or a dimension hop or something else. It's not. It's called a sound envelope.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. How difficult is it to own two places so far away from each other? Do you have like a property manager who takes care of the other, or like do you time hop?
No, I do. I do have people that mow the lawn. They got to do that kind of stuff for the city. But everything's, really self-sufficient. Like I do have lot codes for people to get in. And, like I said, a majority of the people are really respectful. I've met a lot of really great people who are into the paranormal. They're all very respectful for the most part. But, they just clean up after themselves. Like you have to take the trash out when you're done. And everybody's been real good about doing that. I do actually have a few people, which I just like kudos to them. Like message me and say, yeah, we had a great night. I vacuumed for you. People have done that. I get down there as much as I can. The lodge doesn't need cleaning like the Boyd does because the lodge is the lodge, but the Boyd's more, it's like a home. We have bathrooms and that kind of stuff. But I leave plenty of supplies. But I have made deals with people. I'm like, hey, I'll give you a discount, or I won't charge you for a second night if you clean the place. So yeah, it gets maintained in between, and then I get down there because I have to provide snacks, and people like snacks. So I have to restock all those. So
we all need to eat.
You need that 2 a.m. snack to keep you going.
Yeah. So it started with a few things, and then now it just kind of blew up. My husband, he's like, why are you spending so much money on snacks? I'm like, because people like them. And then every time I get people like doing live Facebook, and they're like, and look, snacks, this is great. Or people make comments on the snacks I pointed out to. I go, do you see? People like the snacks. Mm-hmm. So,
any cannolis there?
No cannoli.
Oh.
I don't know about this. We got to talk about this. No,
it's
cannoli.
the charcuterie tray with the gabagool.
The gabagool. We need some gabagool.
I got
gabagool.
Gardettos might be kind of close. I don't know.
So, is it like? I guess you can't say that some people like one more than the other because they're in two totally different locations. They can't pick or choose because one's in Illinois, one's in Minnesota. Do you find personally that you think one is better than the other?
It's hard because Boyd's my baby. Like that's what I started
Choosing a better child, really.
Yeah, so it's hard. I think you get just different experiences at both places. So it just kind of depends on what you're in the mood for, really. I mean, they're all both. I've never had anything negative, evil, anything bad happen at either locations thus far. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. But all of our spirits seem to be really friendly, that they want to interact. They want to play, they want to do stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of, I guess right now I'm more favoring the lodge because it's new and I want to get in there and I want to do more stuff, do more research, just kind of just get more of a feel for the building itself. So
yeah.
It's hard being far away, and we're pretty booked up for Saturdays, and I work full time. So that for me is pretty much my only day to get there, and I can't because everybody's there. But I'll get out there on certain days. So
the Boyd, is that B&B or is it just?
It's just for the paranormal. Now anybody can rent it. Like I'm not like, oh, you're not a ghost hunter, you can't come in here. Because we actually, we're open to anybody who wants to experience the paranormal. We actually, at the Boyd House, do provide some paranormal equipment for those that don't have any. So nothing super fancy, but we got like a voice recorder, a K2 meter, motion detector, a spirit box, the spirit balls, just some real basic things. So you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs in this house and, hoping that, because I think sometimes the people who come that aren't investigators and they just want to experience it, I think they feel like it's going to be like the TV movies, because we all know it's not. But it gives them something to do. And we put a little book together too of like pictures of what they are, how it works, what it does, why it works. So, we're doing a little bit of education too. So
yeah, well, everybody expects what they see in the movies, and
right,
especially newcomers or what they see on TikTok or whatever. And they feel when they go into location, it has to be right there. As soon as you walk in, things floating around and things going off the shelves, and and all the lights going off on all the items. That's what they expect. But yeah, it's not like that. No, it's like I call it like the paranormal. What we do is like fishing. You can sit out there all day and not get nothing, but you still enjoy it.
Right. Exactly.
I always say a bad day at investigating and paranormal is still better than a good day at work.
Yeah.
Always.
I'd rather be out there in some kind of wet, dark location, with the rain coming down or mud all over the place. It's just looking for ghosts.
Yep.
Yeah,
That sounds more like Sasquatch to me.
Well, what's the difference?
It doesn't bother me either way.
What's the difference? You know, you can go for Sasquatch. You're still going to have to walk through somewhere that's wet and muddy. You know, Sasquatch, ghost, even you know, aliens, UFOs.
Yeah.
We just have to go somewhere. You know, and that's what we do. That's why we're called Dimensions of the Supernatural.
That's why
We do everything.
Our comment section's real quiet tonight. This is interesting. They're really like loving this. They're just really paying attention quietly. This is weird. Yeah. They must love it, Jill. This is really interesting. They love the history. They love history. They love getting the background on things. It's so different. Like each of your places, that one was kind of like a wealthy family with such a like rich background, and they've done so many different things. And then you have like the total opposite where people were kind of like going, it's almost like a ritualistic all male thing. And I think it's really funny how like Minnie's there to protect you, because back in those days, women didn't have the upper hand. And she's just like, she's got her dukes up for you. Which
that's Mary, isn't it? The lodge? That's Mary.
Yeah, there's a Mary at the lodge. I don't know if her spirit's there, but she was part of the lodge and stuff too. We did get our first time being there, doing an Estes session up there. We had and I think I didn't know it was a hotel yet at the time. But we did have a lot of males come through giving us their names, like Jerry, Henry, just a couple different ones. But then, you know, first they started off like, well, who are you? What are you doing here? You know, they were like really questioning. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to make this a better building, and, you know, kind of talked about things. And then they said, well, we acknowledge your work here. And they were saying stuff like, I saw you cleaning. But then they said, so we only have one male on our team, Alex, and they addressed him. They're like, Brother Alex. That's how they addressed him. And they said, you're protected. And he's like, well, thank you. And then they went on and he said, Sister Jill. So then they started calling us sister. And then he went to everybody in the room. He didn't know Teresa's name though. He goes, talk lady. She's protected too. So they were already kind of protective over us, I think. But, you know, now I'm finding several other groups. I myself haven't experienced it, but several other groups are getting kind of a negative type spirit, some man at the lodge. Just a lot of negative. One said that they were like felt physically choked by the ghosts. But what kind of makes sense to me now is that we're getting some coming through. Now that we know it was the hotel, we also found out that the hotel was once a brothel. And so we are getting some really sexual things being thrown out at women. And I've been asked to do things, and I'm like, I'm not that kind of lady. So I don't know if that is who is starting to come through as the negative spirit. Because when we were first there, I was just getting the feel like it was just all former Masons or people in the Masonaries, and then the children. And then there's women, you know, there's women there too, because again, it was the hotel. So we just have a whole gamut of different spirits. And like I said, we're still learning. We're still trying to figure out who's all at the lodge and stuff. So it's been kind of interesting to see what other people are getting, but also things that they're getting that's correlating with things I already know, or things that the townspeople have said. So a lot of it's just starting to come together.
That's so crazy. I was going to say, like, I had this feeling that it had nothing to do with the Masonic Lodge. I really truly believe that it had something to do with like the hotel aspect of it, that it was something, it didn't feel positive at all. It was definitely something more male related that was, and I didn't feel like it was like a hotel visitor. It was more like seedy.
Mm-hmm. And he was the guy running the brothel portion of the hotel stuff too. You know, I mean, like I said, we're just really starting to dive into
The bouncer.
on. Yeah. Yeah.
He forced everybody out when they were done.
We did ask one time, you know, how many people are here from the hotel, and it said there are many.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have a mix of spirits, and we're learning. We're learning every day. So,
like, I'm even getting something about a murder.
there was one in town, but I don't know if that, unless you're like feeling like it's at the lodge itself.
No, like when it was a hotel,
Okay.
like the brothel-y part of it, like one of the women didn't do what they wanted him to do.
And it very well could be, because that happened back in the day. Like if you didn't perform your duties, you're done. Or maybe she double crossed him, and you know, there's
maybe she got pregnant.
I feel like terrified of this person, and my heart's pounding, and I feel like on my knees, clutching whatever I have on. It wasn't like a consensual type thing, grabbed by the hair, that type of feeling.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. That's how things were done kind of back in that day. I'm sure we'll never find anything about that, like written, you know, on paper or something. But you know, especially back then, the records were so, like, I got one picture, and I even went to, when we were we spent like a whole week of April down at the lodge getting things ready before we opened in May for investigators. And I did stop at the county historical society, and they had nothing on the Arlington Hotel at all.
I feel like this would have even been hidden.
Right.
There wouldn't be nothing in newspaper, nothing. They have no newspaper, the town paper and stuff.
Yeah, we went through with what they had. We couldn't find anything on the hotel. We have one picture of it when it was the hotel. They showed us that, but I'd already seen that picture. But as far as looking for any like smaller articles or anything, I got to go back now onto the newspaper archives, because somebody did send me a little snippet of something, and I can't find it. I don't know what happened to it, but she had found it on like those newspaper archives. So I'll have to get on there and do that, because I did that when I was getting information for the lodge and the Boyd House, and got a lot of information. But at the time, I didn't know it was the Arlington. So I might be able to get something.
Was it Keatsburg at the time, or was it a different? Because when they change town names, like I didn't know that where I live right now, that it was called something. It was like a White Birch Hollow or something like that, which sounds really beautiful. And then they changed the name, and it sounds something. It's terrible. The name is terrible, but they changed the name of the town. It was a village at one time, and they changed names so quickly for a little, you know, it started as a village. It became a borough. Then it became a township. Then it became something else. They changed names of places.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's been Keatsburg. I haven't been told anything different since it was founded back, because the lodge was the second or third building erected in the town ever when it was built.
Wow.
And I think that was after that Robert guy took over. So I think it has always been Keatsburg, but I can do a little more research just to make sure.
Yeah. And I find interesting with this is that now you say they're tapping into negative. Maybe they're tapping into a different era than what you're tapping into. You're doing the lodge people, and now a new era is starting. Maybe they're tapping into when it was a brothel, or maybe just a hotel, because it doesn't mean, because if somebody's nasty, it doesn't mean it was a brothel. It could have been just a hotel owner or whatever.
Right.
It could have been somebody else too. It doesn't matter. So they're tapping into other eras of that location. So you guys are tapping into when it was the lodge, and they're tapping into maybe when it was the brothel, or maybe just a hotel. or a different era. So that's what I find. If it's like everybody's tapping into a different era, a different dimension of era to get something. So you never know what you might get out of that. Then you might get there. So that's why you might have a negative spirit now. That's with these couple of these groups that are coming across. So I find that very interesting. You have all this different stuff. So you never know what's going to come up in the future because it's still a new location.
Right. Yeah. We've probably just my team's the only one that's investigated. I think now we've maybe had 7. I think maybe 7 different teams in. And everybody's been really good feedback. They're getting equipment interaction. They're seeing shadow figures. One person saw a little kid. Someone saw the woman. So there is stuff happening and things going on. And I just think the more energy that people bring to the place, it might start getting some things stirred up a little bit more too. And it takes time too. I mean, same with Boyd House. You go to these places that like you say, over investigated. Those spirits know what a REM pod is. They know what it's called. They know what it does. They know how it works. You go to these newer places. Like I had to almost teach my spirits what these things were. I explained them. I mean, if you think of it, if you're in the 1900s and I throw this REM pod at you, do you want to touch it? Probably not. It's weird looking. It makes weird noises. You don't know. So I think they got to learn a little bit. We actually did have one. I had this was at the lodge. I had the laser grid up, and it was the new ones where it's more like the red squares. So it kind of looks like an inside of a toaster, if you And the one spirit says, "That's hot." And I said, "No, it's not hot. You can touch it." "No, it'll burn me." I said, "No, it won't burn you." And they're like, "Well, you touch it first." And, so then I showed them. I go, "See, I didn't get burned." So it's like, they don't really know. This is all new stuff. They don't know what it is. So I just kind of explained. So I spent a lot of time explaining what things are and how they work. A little bit different, like you say, you go to one that's already been, they know what that stuff is. So you just say, "Hey, touch the REM pod." They know what it is. So yeah, they're hitting the equipment though. They're learning pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They see something red, even if it was that era. You put a piece of metal in the fire, it comes out. It's red. So they assume that red metal is gonna. They know red metal that's hot. It's gonna burn them. So now they see a red light on the wall, which we know is just a laser grid. They're assuming that's hot, because that's what they're relating to, because of the color, not so much what it is, just the color.
Right,
So
exactly.
That's interesting. So that does give you kind of an era of time also, because if it was like in the 60s or 70s, 80s, we know what things look like with batteries in them. They did have toys back then that did light up.
Right.
But go back and and they did have red colors and stuff like that. So they would say, okay, it's a toy or something. But you go back in time where they didn't have those little batteries, little portable batteries to put into toys, going from maybe the 40s back, even some of the 50s, going back in time. So that makes more sense. They see a color red, it's going to burn them. So that gives you like an era of time between the late 1900s to the the 1940s or 50s. So it's still a big distance of time, but it shows you more of a time period. That makes that's how I look at things when I do investigation. I try to make sense out of everything that comes, and that's one of the things. If they're afraid of the heat from the red light, that gives me a time period to investigate from that time to this time. So, like in the Boyd House, it could be the original owners. They were already up to the 60s, or if it's from the lodge, it might go back in time when it was, like I said, it gives you that era of time to investigate. So if you get that little bit error, you might be able to ask EVP questions, of that time, and you might get better results on that. So that's how I do it. Everybody does really different. Like I said, I got my own way of doing things, but that's how I look into you get an error of time now.
Mhm.
That's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. You're always learning new ways to come up with how to improve it, your
Mhm.
validation questions and stuff too. So it's always good to talk to people too, because then you get ideas. You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm learning every time I go out there. I've been doing, like you said, been doing it a long time. Every time I go out there, it could be a new guy, a new person that just started a couple of years ago, to people that have been. I'm always learning something new,
Mhm.
and we're paranormal investigators. That's what we do. You got to
Yeah.
keep open mind. You got to learn. You're still learning as you go along, because you know how to do something. Maybe somebody comes down and say, "Hey, you could do it this way." Like, you're right. So it's
We
always
all
that
learn.
learning curve.
It hurt to try something different. We tried some. It didn't work real well, but I thought, hey, let's do a double Estes method where I do it and you do it at the same time, but we won't ask any questions. We'll just see if we converse with each other. So
Okay.
Anthony,
it didn't work. It doesn't say that it wouldn't. It maybe this
No. Yeah.
particular
Yeah.
location it didn't. And then I said I would ask questions if I didn't feel like I was saying a lot. So then it was weird because
Hmm.
I would just say my question is, so we know I wasn't saying it off the spirit box. And then
Hmm.
she would actually then she started answering the questions, but we never really did correlate
Each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
with each other. I thought that would be interesting. We did try it, what double Estes method with two of my teammates, and then I was just the asking questions. This was
Hmm.
not this was at a school we were investigating, and those
Hmm.
two started talking to each other. It was just crazy. Like they didn't even know. Like a little kid came through and he asked for something, and then the other one goes, "Oh, don't believe him. He's a liar." And he goes, I think I asked the age, and he goes, because he's really 9. And then she would go, I know, I'm really 9. Like, so, but it's like they can't hear each other. I'm like, this is so crazy.
I love that. That's what I'm pretty much known for now. When someone on the investigation I go to, I do it 2 locations, but I put them in 2 different floors, and I do it with headless, cordless mics, and I mic them up on 2 separate floors, so they're listening, and we're on a separate floor asking questions, listening to them through speakers, and then as they're talking, I write down on separate lines going across what they're saying, and we do get conversations. I've done this so many times. You can ask Jenny in the audience. She's one of my partners that I do that with, and it works. Sometimes it works great, and they communicate. I mean, we have one place. Matter of fact, Ron and Lourdes in the audience right now, and we did it with them. We did it with Lourdes, and um, we were asking questions. We had people on 2 separate floors, and the location we were in was it's the Chrysler Mansion, and it's owned by it was at one time the mob were killing people there. They were doing their thing, but they used to have parties there. But we had 2 separate floors, and the woman on the second floor, and a guy in the basement, and we're asking questions, and the woman on the second floor was like asking for help, like she was pregnant, that she was murdered, and the guy in the basement is telling her to shut the effing up, shut up, and kept on cursing at her as she was asking for help. So it was like the two comments. It was like they were going back and forth. He was telling her to shut up, and they were on 2 separate floors. So I love when that happens. I mean, try that way. Get the
Yeah,
cordless mics with the
that.
headset. Get a cordless mic with the headset. You get 2 of them, and then you have the whole setup. You get two little speakers that are battery operated, like those guitar speakers they use for when they're in the subway. Well, not subways by you, but subways by me. But when they do the performance on the street stuff, you get two of those speakers, and then you get somebody on a book, and as they're talking, you go back and forth, and then at the end, you read. It's like they were actually talking to each other. So yeah,
Cool.
you got to give that a try. And then you put in 2 separate rooms, and then you're in this room, so they can't hear you even asking questions, and then they can't hear each other, and it works pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try that. I love the spirit box is like my favorite thing. Like I
Yeah.
own like several different variations of them. Teresa has a bunch because I just love the science behind it and how they work. And with the Estes, that's just opened up a whole new world there.
Yeah.
It's just been super fun.
Yeah, that Estes was actually created in the Stanley Hotel.
Yep.
That's where they first started it, and that's what continued going. So yeah, that's I love when they talk to each other. And I mean, you had an experience where they actually talk to each other too. Try this way, and there's nobody could tell you that they're hearing anything you're saying because they're not even in the same floor.
Right.
Okay,
It's
because you always have
amazing.
that person. They're hearing you. They're hearing you. They're not hearing you. They're not in the same floor. You put the setup like if you're going to do the regular the experiment, and then just add a cordless wireless mic, the headset one, and you just bring it. It works great. Really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try that out.
Yeah, we did that at the Shanley with Lourdes, and I don't know who was
very good at it.
Yeah. I don't know who was the other one, but it was amazing to see this. And when Anthony showed me the paper and I was sitting with Lourdes, and I know for a fact that she didn't hear what anybody was saying because we were in a totally different section on another floor. And whomever was in the other section, it was literally back and forth, like not a question answer, or, talking back and forth, having a full blown conversation. So I was hearing what Lourdes was saying, and whatever the person was saying that was with Anthony or, wherever else they were, it was undeniable. It's unbelievable to see this.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, and then you have them write it down. But when you get to the line, you write the first one on the top line, and then when the second person talks or whatever comes out, you put it on the second line, and you put it across, and you go down you might use a whole book during a whole section. That's what I pretty much use. But just get one of those little the little black books like they use
like a composition notebook.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you write down
really neat. That would be interesting to have, like, to do in the Masonic Lodge if you can have like a Mason be there.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah, because they'll definitely talk to them, That would be really neat to see. I know when we all went to the Masonic temple, and when my husband took off with one of my pieces of equipment, and he's a Mason, and they were just chattering away to him. They told him all of their secrets and all of their stuff and their secret handshakes and all of their words and whatever. And I'm like, did you get anything? And he goes, oh yeah, this piece of equipment, this is amazing. And he kind of like tossed it to me. And I'm like, this is crazy. Because Carmela, Todd, and I, we sat in the middle of the big room where they do all of the rituals and everything. We had a blast. We were sitting with a dead bell. We had all the equipment out on the floor, and we played trivia with them. We had such a blast. They were talking to us, but not like with my husband. They were like giving him all the information.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if he was a Mason, because they weren't really giving away the secrets because he already knows what they are.
So, yeah.
We had one of the Eastern Star ladies come by, and she's like, well, can I come in and look around? I go, well, if you tell me what everything was used for, you can, So she was like, kind of, point out what they did in this room, what was there. And so then we were upstairs. She was just started talking about, well, we know about the points and everything. How they sit, but she was just getting really into it. She goes, you know what? I've just said too much. I got to stop talking. So I was like, well, she was just like really comfortable, like telling me all this stuff I don't think she was supposed to be telling me. So
yeah, it's like everybody's got their own thing. Anthony does his Estes thing. Ron and Lourdes do their Statacom, and that's undeniable. It's amazing what they've made. My husband, he does his detective work because he's a police officer. Todd and Carmela and I, we play trivia with the spirits, and they have the dead bell, so that rings after I give them my answer from my panda box. Jenny Colucci, she's got her layers of lasagna, which is what I was going to mention before when, Anthony was talking about, you get the generations and the eras of the different things that are happening. She she taught us about the layers of lasagna of the paranormal world. You're like overlapping different time frames, and you never know who's actually giving you those answers. Like the guy that's really horrible, that may not have been the Masonic temple, it may not have been the hotel, it may have been something that's like really interlooped through there. You never know. And it may have been somebody who's just like tightly wound through that little tapestry, that it might have been some little interloper. You never know who that is. And we all have our little things to figure out, how to do it. And it may not be you, it may not be your husband, it may not be whatever, but that one singular person might walk through and get that answer for you someday.
Right.
We all have our thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see what people get at the lodge, because it's new, and just hearing their experiences, and then kind of go off of it, and learn more about it. Like if, say, everybody keeps starting getting the same name or such, maybe I can go off of that and find some more information. Yeah. But I also kind of use it too. Like if I hear that something happened, like, I try to keep a really good rapport with my spirits. So I talk a lot to them when I'm just doing stuff, about my day, my week, and I ask how their week was. But if I hear of a certain story that somebody has had happen to them, I'll bring it up. I'm like, oh, hey, Joe said that when he was here, you scared him. I bet that was pretty funny. Were you laughing at? I kind of feel like I'm kind of getting a little bit more of a build with it, versus, you go to these places, you got like what, 6, 8, 10 hours. That's your shot. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Owning the location, I can kind of build that rapport with them and get to know them a little bit better. And I think, that kind of helps a lot too. I get a lot of different experiences while I'm at either location. Because they have, at least at Boyd, when I first opened, I did tell them people were going to start coming and things, but like the first few times it started happening, people would get EVPs. That's like, where's Jill? So like, they were just like, who are you people? Like, we were fine with her. We don't know who you are. So hopefully we'll get that experience too, where they start knowing us by name at the lodge as well. So
that's awesome. You got to get trigger objects. Todd and Camilla in the audience, when we went to Masonic Lodge, Todd actually bought a 3rd degree Mason hat, and he brought him with this. And it also has a name and everything. It's not a name, but on the box there's initials and stuff. And you can't really it's very hard to get any kind of information on it. But maybe trigger objects of some Mason stuff you could get online, or eBay or something. Maybe get some triggers out of that.
Yeah, we did get a bunch of books donated to us. A couple of family or friends that had family members that were Masons.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it was their parents. They passed away. They're like, well, I don't know what to do with these books, so I think they should go back to you. So we got different things like prayer books and all kinds of things. We have a Masonic Bible. We got a gavel. Things like that were given. So we did put. We even had somebody had a Eastern Star shirt. So like we've had a REM pod go off on that. I put a K2 meter inside the China hutch with all the books when we got them for display. And that thing was hitting red all the way. So I always just say, you explain, how does a K2 hit red when there's a building with 0 power and it's inside a wooden China hutch? So,
oh, wow.
It's kind of like, I'm not a big, huge K2 person because there's so many different things that can set it off. But when we're in that particular instance, I'm buying that one a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, K2 could be set up for almost anything, so it's very delicate. From a plane, I had planes going overhead setting it off. So, but when you're in a location that has no power and there's nothing there to actually trigger it, that's awesome when it goes off like that.
Yeah. So
the K2.
Yeah. So we're hoping to get more Masonic stuff. We did get a couple. I was at the antique stores and got a couple of the more of a patriotic type pictures, where they had like we have one with like Betsy Ross doing the flag, and then we have some of some from the 1776. We found a big metal plate with those on there, so we hung that. They seem to really like that stuff. So they usually, like I said, whenever I bring in something new, I put some sort of device next to it to say, hey, if you appreciate it, I'll get you more stuff, but let me know if you like this. They usually hit it at some point throughout the night. So,
yeah, the forefathers were Masons.
right.
So
Yep.
they're going to go for that, of course. You should also put out like a signature book and put like tell your story of what happened to like whatever cool things happened to you over the night. That way, if they don't tell you or they don't get to see you, they'll at least put their name, where they're from, and then like whatever EVPs they got or names they got or whatever happened, they can fill you in before they leave.
Yeah, we do actually have a guest book for people to write in. So we have one for that, and we also have one at the Boyd House too. So yeah, I enjoy sitting down and reading them. Places so I can get the information. Interesting, which we haven't done yet, and I'm going to do, is we had a spirit tell us that they wanted us to get up in the meeting room by the altar. They wanted us to get a bowl with small pieces of paper so people can write nice things and then put it in the bowl as an offering. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. I haven't been able to get that because I want to find a cool looking bowl. I got to find the right bowl. So yeah. So we're gonna do that because the spirit.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Am I being told? I don't know if this was something. I don't know. I'm being told something about the Japanese repair their broken things with like. I don't know where I even got this. Something about when they don't throw things away. They repair the things that are broken. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm. But maybe it'll be something that first surfaces later.
Does anyone in the audience know what I'm talking about? So they don't throw their stuff away, like their bowls or their plates or whatever. They repair the things because they feel like throwing things away is just a waste. They like to repair things, and it compares to like relationships. They almost use like a gold that they repair, and it makes it just as beautiful as it was before, but it's kind of like a symbolic thing that they do. I don't even know where I got this from.
Because the Japanese were in really much out west. It was mostly the Chinese that went out west to like build the railroads and to make money. So I don't think the Japanese were really in the country during those eras. There might have been. I might be wrong. Maybe they were part of the railroad. I don't know. And they just
I don't know if someone learned this while they were in the service. I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's something symbolic of like even keeping things like together, like a relationship. You learn to hold on to things that are important to you, even by fixing them. And they would use like gold, and they kind of like fused it together. All the pieces, they put them back together.
Well, today we call that hoarding.
The what?
Today we call that hoarding. Hoarders.
Maybe.
That's today's standards.
Maybe it's because today people just throw away things so easily.
Yeah, back then they couldn't replace things that easy. Back then they couldn't replace it. Nowadays, you just dump on Amazon or eBay, and you have it in your house the next day.
So that would make sense, because if they're telling you, Jill, to have people put something positive into a bowl, they're trying to teach a lesson to people. So that's same thing about the bowl being like glued back, or not glued back together, but like, something that was important.
Right.
Maybe they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, maybe.
That might be interesting, because if they're writing things put in the bowl, how do you know they're not being influenced by a spirit to write those, to get a notice to you, to tell you something?
It could be.
It could be.
That's interesting. I'm sorry for going the other way, Maureen. making a joke of it. But
No,
now I
no.
see where you went with it. No, now I see where you went with that. That's interesting. Maybe that's how they could get to Jill. We're having people writing stuff, and they're influencing the writing that the people are writing down, so they could speak to Jill, and maybe that's their suggestions, the spirit suggestions, not just the.
But are they having them opened, or are they just putting a positive thought in? Jill, are they asking you to open them and read them, or no?
He didn't say. He just said to write nice things as an offering and place it on the altar. That's all they said.
Huh.
As an offering. So he didn't ask. I guess, I'll ask him if I am supposed to read it or not read it.
There's so many questions now.
I know. It's just like I said, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg.
Here's one last one before we let you go for the evening, since we've kept you so long and annoyed you. Are there any historic cemeteries near either location that may have ties to them?
I don't know if they're technically historic. There is one of Keseberg in town, which I know a lot of the Masons are buried at. And then they have some other cemeteries very close by that I know some other Masons are, but a majority are the ones right in town. So, yeah, it goes back a long ways.
Cool. Very cool.
Okay, we're going to start getting the cars loaded. Todd, Camilla, we're going to have Maureen and Ronald Lourdes and Jenny. We're going to load up our car with our gear and our cannolis, and we're going to be heading out there tonight, okay?
And tiramisu.
We're coming to you, Jill.
All right.
We're headed out. We're going to load the car up with our gear and cannolis, and we're set for the ride.
All right.
And tiramisu. And tiramisu.
That's in your car. You can load anything you want in your car.
That's okay. I get more.
I get the cannolis in my car. And if they make the trip, they make it. If not, that might be cannoli
They're
all
not
over my
making
face.
that trip. We all know that. Jill will bring you a snack too.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect.
Cannolis. So,
Okay, so this is another special edition. Thursday nights.
Doesn't she want to promote her?
I will.
Promote. Tell her where people could get you.
Tell me.
And, anything coming up or any special events?
Yeah,
your locations.
No
whatever.
Yeah, no events right now. We might do a Paracon next year at the lodge. We'll see. It's going to take a lot of work, but in the meantime, if you want to visit either location, we are on Facebook for either Boyd House or the Haunted 1861 Masonic Lodge. Websites for both. For the Boyd House, it's boydhouse217.com, or otherwise the lodge is the Haunted 1861 Masonic.com. So you can check us out at the locations. Got all the information there for you, how to book and any questions that you might have.
So boydhouse217.com or
Haunted 1861 Masonic.com.
Haunted 18. I'm slow, Jill.
1861 Masonic.com.
61 Masonic.com. Or check out Facebook. Okay. So thank you for being with us. You are a wonderful guest. You can come and visit us anytime. We would love to have you back. This was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if we want to do it again, and then I'll have some more stories about the lodge too.
Yeah, we would love to hear more, especially if anything changes or if you get like an amazing like epiphany or something fantastic happens and you want to let us know, please update us. We would love to hear more. And thank you to our comment section as always. We love you all so very much. This is another episode, fantastic episode of Dimensions of the Supernatural. Catch us every Thursday from 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm Maureen Grudzinski, also known as the Lil Witchy. That's Jill Shelley, and that is my amazing co-host, Anthony Simonelli, also known as Mr. Forget About It. Anthony, take it away, my friend.
Remember, you want to look for ghosts. You got to be, I just screwed that up. Okay. You got to be safe out there. You want to look for ghosts. You don't want to be a ghost. And
Hey, how you doing?
Catch you next time.
good night. Ciao.
Good night, everybody.